Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. So, your character has just made it through the initial stage of Tanaan Jungle, getting a feel for the next expansion of Warlords of Draenor. And because I'm playing Alliance, I arrive on the shores of Shadowmoon Valley to speak to the Prophet Velen, who's going to give me my first quest, sending me off on the construction of my garrison. But there's a question which has been on a lot of people's lips for a lot of this expansion, and that question has been, what if we could fly in Warlords of Draenor? Now, we do have Aviana's Feather, which is a glider of sorts, which allows you every 10 minutes to blast yourself very high into the air and then glide, actually maneuver yourself somewhere that you'd like to go to. But of course, once you land, that's it. You're going to have to wait for the cooldown to finish and then go again. So what would happen then if you could just fly? Fly in Draenor, fly up into the sky and actually experience this expansion from here. Now, I have been a staunch supporter of keeping people grounded in this expansion. And the reason why I've been a staunch supporter of keeping people grounded is because it has a drastic effect, in my view, on the kind of content that you can produce for the World of Warcraft. You see, if you can just jump up into the air and then land, it sort of negates everything that's going on down below you. If I'm given a quest to go over here to this amphitheatre and kill somebody, if I'm grounded, then I have to attack it from the ground. I have to go through all the troops that are on the floor. I have to battle my way through to the mob, then defeat it, and then potentially battle my way out. But if I'm flying, I've just gone over all of them here, and then I stoop to conquer, grab the mob, bang, 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 it's dead, and I'm up and away again. So that's one reason why I think flying is detrimental to the World of Warcraft, because it really limits creative content. Also, we can talk about PvP. I'm a level 90 character, and I'm down on the ground fighting mobs. So a level 100 is then scouting above me, sees me, swoops in again, bang, 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 I'm dead, whoosh. And it's away and up, and it has no consequence. And the reason why it's got no consequence is nobody can really attack it up here. Sure, you know, you could say, yeah, well, people can slow fall and do a couple of spells here, or levitate down, dotting up. It's fine, yeah, sure, they can get some initial dots off, maybe even an instant spell, depending on what spec they are, but you can just fly away. You can just fly away, and the likelihood is you would absolutely survive. You'd wait for your dots to drop, you would land somewhere safe, heal up, or land somewhere up above and eat some food, and you get back to full health again. And then you can go back in, swoop, smack, gank, bang, and away. So that is why I've been a massive, massive supporter of keeping the game grounded. And that is my belief right up until this point, and it's not going to change. But I'm not naive, I'm a pragmatist. I always maintain this, and Warlords of Draenor hasn't lived up to any of its hype whatsoever. The levelling up was utterly fantastic, but the problem is, if you're banning flying, then you've got to have that creative content on the ground to compensate, because you are taking away a huge, and I mean huge, convenience factor when it comes to the World of Warcraft. Getting places by flying is really, really convenient. It's faster for a start, about 3 times faster than walking, and you can go wherever you want, like landing on the top of the Temple of Caribor. You can see everything from above, even if the mobs haven't spawned in. You get a very good idea of what's coming up and what will potentially be there. So, with Warlords of Draenor 6.1, we didn't get any content. I mean, literally, we didn't get any content at all. We had a rehash of dungeons. We had a rehash of Apexis Crystal dailies. I think the only physical content external to this was the 1 in 3 or 4 dailies which actually happened in the outside world. Other than that, you were summoning in a raid boss to your garrison, and your garrison invasion had another layer of difficulty, or at least reward. You could go from gold to platinum instead. So with the PTR for 6.2 just coming out, we have to go through another extended period of no content on the live servers. Patch 6.1 came out towards the end of February. We are now in the middle of April. The PTR, according to Bashok, is most likely going to be with us for months as opposed to weeks. And I can understand that. There's a whole zone to test out. There's a brand new raid to test out. We have Time Walker dungeons to test out. We have Mythic dungeons to test out. Again, you could class the last two really as rehashed content. And you know, that's a video which I've discussed with Time Walker prior to this. And Mythic is something I will discuss in the future. So we are missing a big chunk. We're missing a big soul of the World of Warcraft because we feel as if we're now being punished. I mean, at least that's how I view it from my perspective. If I am grounded, and I don't mean being sent to my bedroom without tea and biscuits, I am saying if I am grounded in the World of Warcraft, i.e. I cannot fly anywhere, then I need to have plenty of stuff to do on the ground. Stuff which just doesn't exist in the game. So with 6.2 potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially being the last patch of Warlords, and if there is to be a 6.3, then it's definitely not going to be having additional raids and zones and such. It's most likely going to be a filler patch going into the next expansion, which might bring in flying then. But there is no certainty yet that flying will come in 6.2. With Warlords being distinctly lacking in any sort of content, even though I am a staunch believer that if you do have the content, you should be grounded, I'm kind of thinking, well, you know, maybe they should bring in flying. You know, fine, keep everybody grounded in Tanaan Jungle, which is the new zone. That fully understand, and that I fully support. You could always have some sort of fudge that if you go up into the air, or if you were to attempt to fly, then you would simply get shot down by the Iron Horde, shot down by the Burning Legion. There's multiple different aspects which you can toy with that idea. The Timeless Isle we couldn't fly on, but people didn't complain about that. The Isle of Thunder we couldn't fly on, but people didn't complain about that because we still had the mainland of Pandaria. So even though and I have to stress this because, you know, I'm not flip-flopping on any idea. I am a staunch supporter of no flying, but I'm a pragmatist. And the pragmatic fact is there isn't any content on the ground that justifies us being stuck at that level. There's nothing there which is crying out for us to maintain our wings being clipped in Warlords of Draenor. Now, I would advocate flying in a game if it had legitimate use. But, you see, back in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, not Wrath of the Lich King, just Burning Crusade actually, it did have a legitimate use, because when you got to level 70 and when you gained flying for the very first time, there were actually areas of the map that you could access that you could not get to unless you had flying. So that was the clincher there. That was saying to you, look, if you want to open up more content, Netherwing Ledge, and then you had Sketis up there, and Orgrimmar, and places like that. The game was literally saying to you, if you want to experience more content for Burning Crusade, then you can get your flying. And it cost an awful lot of money to get, and money was difficult to come by in those days, so it did involve a hell of a lot of saving up, grinding, and all that kind of jazz. But that's the nature of how the game was back then. And you got your flying mount, and then when you got and if you got the basic one, which I think flew at 60% speed back in those days. It was insanely slow. But if you even got that 60% flying speed, you had this sense of wonderment that you could actually fly up to areas that you could not access. And that sort of went away from the World of Warcraft. Instead of flying being a reward of sorts to actually allow you to access other areas, it just became the norm. So you could fly literally anywhere around the map that you wanted to, and if you were landing on places that were high up above, they were more in kin with just mountains and things like that you could get a better view of. Nothing really spectacular beyond that. So if the World of Warcraft legitimately had a function for flying, which allowed you to get to, I don't know, even continents in the sky. I think very much like how Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn Heaven's Sword expansion is going to be utilised flying. Because flying mounts are coming into that game, but they're only coming into the new areas, and the new areas are literally floating continents. They are just all over the place. So that's how you get from level to level to level. So flying is a legitimate source of transportation between one and the other, whereas in World of Warcraft it's no longer been designed in that fashion. But that said, if it's no longer being designed in that fashion, then if you are going to ground people, they've got to have the things to do at ground level to justify. You've got to have the fun events, which should be happening in the zones all the time. There should be random things going on in Frostfire Ridge, in Gorgrond, in Talador, that should be spawning up, you know, maybe even at the same time in some areas. So you could have one in Gorgrond, you could have one in Nagrand, and you'd be like, right, we're going to do the event in Nagrand and then see if we can get to the one in Gorgrond before that's been completed. And of course people will break themselves up depending on which one's closer. And they should have these sort of events in the game to allow people to stay out into the world and legitimately do something. And those events would therefore be even more important if you were grounded, and therefore the only way that you could make yourself from one area to another was to take the flight paths and ground mounts. But we don't have any of that whatsoever. Nothing to go alongside that, nothing to support being grounded, because Blizzard haven't supported the game. And that's the sad fact of the matter. So here I am, flying around Draenor, and the question is, do you know something? It probably should be brought in. It's a weird situation for somebody to say who is totally against flying because it affects content, but unfortunately, you've got to have the content there for it to affect. And Warlords of Draenor doesn't. So just bring it in. Bring it in, and at least appease people. It might be a way of even allowing some people that are pissed with the game to get some sort of enjoyment out of it at the moment, while we wait the 2-3 months, however it's going to be, until 6.2 arrives and we finally get some new stuff to do. So there we go. Flying in the World of Warcraft. This is what it would look like if we were on Warlords of Draenor right now and they had implemented it. Nothing, you know, really untoward, because there's nothing to actually affect the fact that I'm up in the air. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media as well as twitch.tv for live streaming. Those links are in the description down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.